welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta.
And I'm Connie, and today we are here with Christina Burk. So, Christina, how do you deal when shit gets real? Or just tell us, our listeners, a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys, yep, my name is Christina, and honestly, that's about it. I don't have that many interesting facts.
She's a military wife. That's an interesting fact.
True. My husband's in the Coast Guard. That's exciting. I have a dog named Chief. He is an asshole, but I love him anyway.
I feel that.
He tried to kill us on one of our hikes. It was super fun.
Yeah, I got him to be a hiking dog, and I can't even take him hiking anymore because he just tries to kill me. He's obsessed with leaves. So if he sees a leaf over a cliff, he's going for it, and he's 76 pounds of pure muscle, so he's taking me with him.
Oh boy, that is, whew.
Yeah, he's a lot, but he's sweet. He's kind of calming down a little bit, but he's still just a puppy, so
he'll get there one day.
Exactly. He'll calm down as he grows up a little bit.
Yeah, gotta love that puppy stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Chewing everything, eating literally everything. I've lost a couple pairs of slippers because of him. Yep, it's great.
I've lost a couple pairs of underwear. I was like, why? This is weird. Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah, I know. He always tries to steal my underwear if I leave them on the ground when I go get in the shower. I'm like, okay, this is just weird. You need to not do that, man.
Smell of master. Awkward.
Exactly.
And for those of you playing the home game, slippers, flip-flops here in Hawaii.
Yes. Sorry.
She's not talking about actual slippers like house slippers. Slippers, flip-flops.
So, what is your favorite hike to date and why? And I'm assuming it's the one where he almost killed you, right?
No, it's gonna be one with me, of course.
Well, of course. That's honestly such a hard question. Okay, so Rietta knows this, but I was not an outdoorsy person before, I guess it's almost been 2 years now. So before I got married to my husband, I grew up in Michigan, right? And so, which is kind of an outdoorsy place. People do outdoorsy things, but my mom, she's very let's do a spa day and let's, be cute in heels and whatever, right? So I just grew up like that. So I just never even considered that I would ever really like the outdoors. So married my husband, we moved to Guam. And in Guam, I quickly figured out, I'm gonna literally know nobody and do nothing except for sit in our condo and watch endless amounts of Netflix if I don't try to go outside. So I joined a hiking group, and I quickly realized that I love being outside, and it was great. But yeah, so favorite hike. Okay, so there's been some awesome ones in Guam just because
it's Guam.
Yeah, it's not hiking like you think in the States, and even in Hawaii. Hawaii has some that are like that. You don't know where the trail is. You're just you're following pig trails for a lot of it, which is kind of crazy, and you just never know what you're gonna run into. So it was super cool. But honestly, if I had to pick a favorite, I have a lot that are way up there. But this last week, well, actually, no, it was 2 days ago? I went with Rietta, and we went and found these moss rock slides back in the jungle. And it was so much fun. Oh my goodness. So if I had to pick one, I don't know if it's just because it's fresh in my mind, but it was really awesome. It was super fun.
So how did you guys find that trail? Is it something well known, or you guys just kept on walking and found it?
It's not, no, I wouldn't say it's well known because that waterfall is super frequent. I mean, there was probably 30 people at the waterfall when we walked by. So it's past a trail that is well known, kind of behind it. I do a lot of research, and I know Christina does too. I'm not just somebody that just willy-nilly goes hiking. So if I see something that I think is interesting, I'm going to research and figure out how to do it. So that was one of those things that you saw on Instagram and it became a viral video, and you're like, oh, I got to figure out where that is. And you type it into Google and you figure it out, and we found our way there.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. Rietta says that she researches these hikes, right? So I usually just kind of go along with her because I'm like, yeah, Rietta does her homework. I don't really need to do that. So
I love it.
The first time that Rietta and I went hiking alone on Hawaii.
Oh boy.
I came from Guam, I told you, right? I did some sketchy stuff in Guam, and I was like, I'm a badass hiking chick now. I can do anything. No. Hawaii is a different game. All right. So Rietta is like, hey, you want to go hiking with me? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. She's like, cool. Like, I have a couple of hikes I want to do, but like, no one will do them with me. Should have been a red flag. Nope.
Really? That should have been, yes.
It should have been. I should have been like, well, why will no one go? And I was like, shh, they're just wimps. Like, whatever. Like, I hiked in Guam. I climbed crazy waterfalls and did crazy stuff. So I was like, yeah, like, let's do it. I did not look it up, right? She's like, let's do this hike, Pali Notches. I was like, all right, cool, sounds good. Didn't look it up. All right. So now it's like 11 o'clock the night before, and I decided, I'm like, oh, okay, like, I'm gonna just Google what the heck I'm doing, because I should at least know where I'm going. And so I type it in, and like the first thing that comes up is like a news article for someone that died doing it. The next one is another news article for someone else that died doing this hike. And I was like, okay, what? So I like message her back. I'm like, hey, so this is like kind of sketch, huh? She's like, yeah, like I said, like no one will do it with me, but like it's okay, like we'll just go, like, and if like you feel uncomfortable or like if we like get nervous, like we'll turn around, we'll go back. So I was like, okay, it's cool. I'm like, Retta's mom, she's got a kid, she's got to live for somebody, right? I'm like, nobody depends on me. My husband, he'll be fine. There's prettier girls out there. I'm like, we didn't have a dog, right? So I was like, yeah, it's fine. Rietta will back out before I back out. So we go, we do this hike. All right. We get to like the first notch, and I am like ready to pee my pants. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I am going to die. This is it. And she's like, all right, like we ready to go to second one? And I'm looking at her. I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, are you crazy? Like, I don't know her that well anymore. And like normally I'm just like a suck it up and do it, because like I don't want to be the person that like bailed, right? But I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, she's not gonna back out. Like, we're really gonna do this. Looking down, like we see the fire department, they're down there doing like training exercises and everything. And I was like, yeah, Rietta, I hate to be this person, but like I think my husband will kill me if I go any further. I was like, if I don't die doing that, he's gonna be like, what the heck were you thinking? I was totally using him as a cop out. He would have been like, why didn't you go? But yeah, so we like went back down or whatever, and you know, Rietta can talk to anybody. I was like all afraid. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, are we gonna get in trouble for being up there, whatever? And she was like, no, I'm just gonna go talk to them. And so she like went and started talking to the fire department people. I forget, like, what was he? He was like the guy who was like supervising everyone. I don't know. Rietta knew what to call him, and she like went up and was like, hey, like, how's it going? She's like, what are you guys doing over here? And they're like, oh, like we're just doing some drills, like we're just practicing. We have to do like a lot of rescues over here, so we just figure like it's a good place to like do these things. And like I was literally like, oh my gosh, like we could have died. This was it. Like, it's crazy. I should never hike with her again, ever again. Hike with her.
And here you are. She ropes you back in every time, right?
Every time, but I don't regret it. I feel like that's all the cool places I've been like with Rietta.
Well, and like the best part is like Ryan, her husband, only really trusts her hiking with me even after that. So it's really funny.
That is funny.
In my defense, like I legit thought Christina had more experience. I was like, oh, this will be easy. She's been hiking all this time. And then like we start hiking up there and she's like, oh yeah, I've only started recently hiking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an asshole.
It's okay. I kind of sold myself, I think.
You definitely did.
Well,
but I was
once
like,
you say
oh
I've
my
been
God.
hiking in Guam, it's kind of like, yeah, you have to be experienced.
Right? Well, that was what I thought. Yeah, no, Hawaii is like a different beast. I said like Guam is more like untouched, so like natural beauty. But
Yeah.
then Hawaii is just like so much more epic. Like bigger waves, bigger mountains, like steeper falls.
Oh yeah. Way bigger mountains. And Pali Notches is like the most dangerous hike on the island. So yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, it was a good starting point.
Well, since we're talking about almost dying, it goes perfectly into your little instances that happened to you when you were younger, where you're almost kidnapped. She shared the stories with me when we were hiking, and I was like, dude, you need to be on our podcast. So tell us about all your crazy run-ins and what happened, and maybe if there's anything that you can tell people to look out for. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot. So I'm just going to pick a couple. I just won't be here for many more hours than you're trying to be here for. So, okay, we'll start with the ice cream man, because who doesn't love a good ice cream cone from an ice cream truck? So I told you I grew up in Michigan. The street that I lived on was kind of like weird, where like you weren't supposed to drive on it, ice cream trucks, etc., if you didn't have a special permit, right? So
Interesting.
right, I know, kind of weird, which it's not like it was a gated community or anything, but apparently you need a special permit. So ice cream trucks like never came down our street ever. We were playing outside, my brother and I, my little brother, and we heard the ice cream truck, and we were like, mom, like, please, can we go get an ice cream? Like, we just want to go to the ice cream truck, whatever, right? And so she's like, all right. She had been working a lot. My parents have their own business. So she was like, all right, I feel a little bad. Like, we'll go get an ice cream truck. So she's like, everyone go get in the car, and we're going to go drive around. So we literally drove around the entire neighborhood, like following the music up and down all these streets, trying to figure out where this ice cream truck was. We finally caught up to the ice cream truck, like jumped out, went up and like ordered our ice cream and everything. And I had a big birthday coming up. So it's gonna be my 8th birthday. And to like make this make a little sense, my little brother was super sick growing up. He had an autoimmune disease. So like we couldn't be around a lot of people. We didn't really have friends over, so there was never birthday parties or anything like that. So this was like a big deal because he was finally in remission and we could have like a big party. So my parents were throwing this like massive party. I had family coming in from all over the place. So they were like, we're going to hire this ice cream truck. Like, this is great. Perfect. So we're sitting there and my mom starts talking to this ice cream man, and it's like him and this other woman on the ice cream truck and this little boy. And the ice cream man had a cast on. Again, like, I don't totally know why that's relevant, but this like was like the thing as a kid that like stuck in my mind. And I was like, so I didn't used to be this obnoxious. Now, like, I talk way too much and like no one can ever get me to shut up, right? But as a kid, I was like super, super quiet, but I watched everything. I was just like very like soak it all in. I was a sponge, a silent sponge. So I remember sitting up against this tree and watching my mom talk to this ice cream man who had this cast on. I was eating my ice cream and he was like fidgeting with it. He was like moving it around in like a way that like it didn't look like you should be able to move a cast like that. And I was like, that's weird. Like, it was almost like there was something in there that he was trying to like adjust. And I was like, that's kind of odd. So I just remember like whatever it was about that moment as a little kid, like, you know, like that like check you get where it's like, okay, like something's not right here, like gut feeling is like a 7-year-old kid. I had this like gut feeling. I was like, yeah, like something's not right here. My mom like ends up like giving this ice cream man like our address because he like was like, I need money for this special permit in order to like work the party, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't have that money. And my mom's like, that's fine. Like, we'll pay for the permit. So she gave him our address and said, here, like, come to this address, like, whatever. And I'll make sure that like we give you the money and you can go get this permit. He's like, okay, cool. So we leave, whatever. That night, my parents are tucking me into bed. And I'm like, Mom, I don't like the ice cream man. And she was like, what do you mean you don't like the ice cream man? And I was like, I don't know. I don't like the ice cream man. Like, I don't want the ice cream man. And she was like what? Like, I don't understand. Like, she was trying to understand like what the heck I was saying. And I was just like, he scares me. Like, there's something like he's not right or something, right? As best as like a 7-year-old can try to explain this to their parent when like you don't even understand, like you just know that there's something not right. So
yeah, your kid intuition was telling you something and you can't really figure out how to explain it.
Exactly. So she was like, you know, as a parent does, trying to reassure me. She's like, it's going to be okay. Like, mom and dad are going to protect you. Like, you don't have to be afraid. And I was like, okay, like, go to bed, whatever. A couple days later, the ice cream man comes by to pick up his money. So my brother and I are playing in the yard, and like my mom always watched us like a hawk. We were never left alone for like 5 seconds. But he came for the money. We were both like sitting out there, and my brother was eating a snack. And my mom was like, I'm literally going to step inside the house and grab the money that's in an envelope on the counter, which the way our house is, it would literally be like open the front door and take 3 steps right there. So she like popped in to grab the money. In that amount of time, this ice cream man was like, hey, little girl, you want to ride in my ice cream truck? Well, I didn't hear him. I was very busy doing my very grown-up job of getting the mail from the mailbox. So, but my little brother heard him and he was mad because he wanted to ride on the ice cream truck, right? So my mom comes out and my brother is like yelling. He's like, no fair, no fair. I want to ride on the ice cream truck. He used to call me Nani. We're not really sure where that comes from, but he's like, Nani gets to ride on the ice cream truck. I want to ride on the ice cream truck. This dude steps on the gas and just like takes off down the street. And you hear those stories of like mom lifting a car off their child. Well, my mama, she had that same kind of adrenaline because she thought I was on the ice cream truck and this guy was like stepping on it going down the street. So like superhuman, like whatever running capabilities. She goes flying down the street running, hops onto this moving ice cream truck, grabs this man from the driver's seat, throws him against the wall of the truck, and is like slamming him against the truck. Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? I'll kill you. Right?
Oh my God, amazing.
Right? Never underestimate a scary Italian mama. Do not get in between her and her babies. So he's like, lady, you're crazy. I don't have your daughter. Da, da, da. And she's like, you know what? She's like, stay away from here. Stay away from my family. Like, don't come back here. And he's like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, I'm coming back. I'm going to be at that party. And he's like, and you better watch your little girl. Cause like, I'm going to take her. And right. Like, first of all, not very bright. Don't share your plan with the peanut
Yeah,
gallery.
that's true. Where all of the evil henchmen have gone wrong in all cartoons and movies ever.
Exactly. I was like, you think that's just like, you know, Disney kind of making a funny storyline. Well, apparently some people actually do this. If you're a criminal, keep telling us your plan. But my mom was like, okay, this is crazy. Like, we called the police. They came to our house to take a report. And so like, they were asking because like this man's description matched a description of somebody that they were looking for because there was a little boy that had gone missing. So if you remember the beginning of the story, there was a little boy on the ice cream truck when we met him. My mom was like, you know, like there was a little boy, and she's like, I wasn't paying that close of attention, but like my daughter was like really freaked out by this. Like she tried to tell me, and she's like, so do you want to talk to her? And so they were like, yes, please. And so like they brought me out and they were asking me all these questions, like, what did I see? Like, what did they look like? All these things, right? And I told you, like, I was like a sponge. Like, I used to just like soak in details as like a little kid. I would say nothing and just like take it all in. So like, I was describing like everything I saw and everything. And I was like, and the little boy had the same shirt that my little brother has. And they were like, can you go get the shirt? And I was like, yeah. So I went and like got the shirt out of my brother's little drawer and brought it out to them, and they were like, okay, like they asked my mom if they could take the shirt with them, and she was like, yes. And my mom was like, so like, what do we do? And we're gonna get back to you, but like if you want to still have the party, like we'll arrange it where we'll have police sent to your home and like basically have like security there. And so we decided to keep having the party because this was like a big thing and like everyone was invited and all this stuff. I didn't find this out till years later, but my parents had hired private security for my brother and I to like follow us around at this birthday party. And like, well, they were also following us, but right. So we were like extra watched. As the police officer was like leaving our house, the one guy like got on his like little radio thing, right? And he was like, I think we got him. And so they ended up arresting this dude on his way to my house on my birthday.
What?
Yeah. So they did end up saving the little boy and everything. But yeah, they ended up arresting this dude, this ice cream man, on his way to our birthday party, which is crazy.
Dude, you solved your first crime at 7 years old.
I know, right? I missed my calling. Should have been a detective.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah. Wild.
That's crazy.
Right? Yeah. I don't know. I guess I just have like a magnet for attracting kidnappers though, because like that wasn't like the first, like that was the first time I think. No, that's a lie. That was not the first time. That was the second time someone had ever like attempted to like grab me, right? So told you my parents have their own business, right? It's not like it's a smaller business at the time, right? And so they had this employee, and without getting into like too many details because it got super twisty and whatever, and it's a longer story than it needs to be. So basically they had this employee, he was doing some sketchy stuff, he was under investigation at this hospital he was working at, and it was his girlfriend who was their employee. This was the boyfriend was doing some sketchy stuff at the hospital, the girlfriend was working for them. They discovered that she was stealing from them, and so they kind of like sat her down and they were like, look, like, my parents are good people. I was like, if it was me, I'd been like, you stealing? You gone. But like, no, they were like, like, why are you stealing? Like, do you need money? Like, we'd be willing to pay you more. We like want to help you, but like, don't steal from us. It was like, yeah, like, I'm just going through a rough time. Like, I need some more money, blah, blah, blah. So my parents were like, okay, like, we'll get you extra shifts. Like, we'll see what we can do to help you out. But like, if you need money, come to us. Do not steal from us. Well, they ended up catching her stealing again because my grandfather had a heart attack and ended up going to that same hospital. And so when my parents went there to see him, they ended up literally watching her pocketing the money right out of the cash drawer. So they ended up firing her. I feel like that was pretty justified. But this boyfriend of hers was not so happy. And so he basically called them and was like, you need to like take her like back. You need to like bring her back on. My mom was like, no, like we caught her red-handed, like she was stealing from us. We're not gonna bring someone back who's been stealing from us. And we had already talked to her and said, like, if you need money, like, talk to us. Like, we're good people. We'll try to help you, but like, don't steal from us. So anyway, this guy, crazy, starts like threatening all kinds of things. And one of his long list of threats was that he was gonna come after their daughter, me, and he was going to cut her up into 1,000 pieces and leave me on their doorstep in a paper bag. So, pretty dark and twisted. My parents were like, okay, like, this dude's crazy, he's off his rocker. But like, at the time, they were like, I don't know that this is a credible threat. They got the police involved. They're like, yeah, like, there's no way this is a credible threat, like, da-da-da, like, right? And back then, I guess, like, there wasn't stalking laws. At least that's the way that the story has been told to me. I don't really follow the history of stalking laws, although with my history, maybe I should. But so anyway, so this guy threatens a couple times. My parents are like, okay, like, talking to the police. They're like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Like, it's not credible. My mom I used to go to a school where I had to wear a uniform. So we all dressed the same, right? But like, that day, my mom had put like this yellow bow in my hair. So I was different from everybody else because I had this yellow bow in my hair. My parents get a call at their office, and it's this crazy man. And he's basically like, I'm sitting here and I'm watching your daughter. And she's playing on the playground with her friends. He goes, and in case you don't believe me, he goes, I know that every day she wears like that uniform, but today she has a very special bow in her hair, a yellow bow. So my parents freaked out, obviously. They're like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah.
it's real. So they get the police on one line, they get the school on the other line. They're trying to keep this guy on the phone. And like, they're like, okay, like, whatever you want. And he's like, I don't remember the amount of money, but it was some crazy amount of money he wanted in a bag, dropped off at this party store in downtown Detroit. And they're like, we'll do anything. Like, yes, like, please don't touch our daughter. So the school ended up going on like total lockdown. Like, I had no idea it was because of me, but they like, everyone inside, right? Like, everyone's on lockdown. Like, the school security was like all over it. They were really good. I ended up staying at that school for a really long time because of how good their school security was. And then like the police got there and everything. And obviously I'm still here and not in 1,000 pieces. So he didn't, but my parents ended up paying him the ransom money because like they were just too freaked out. They're like, we can't, like, nothing would be worth it if like our daughter, whatever, like, we'll give you any amount of money at that point. So yeah, that was the first time. And
Wow.
then the second time was the ice cream man.
The police didn't try to like stop him so that your parents didn't have to pay him. I figured since you had the police involved, like, they could go and sit where the drop point is and like he could pick up an empty bag and then they could arrest him.
Yeah, so okay, the way the story has been told to me, because again, I was like 3 years old at the time, right? So I don't remember any of this. This is just how it's been told to me. So basically, this all happened like right before 9/11. And so the FBI was working this dude's case apparently because like I told you, he had some sketchy stuff going on at the hospital. Like
Mhm.
apparently he was being investigated for like poisoning food to patients. Crazy. And then this, and like there was multiple threats that he had made to my parents. Like they had to evacuate their building for like a bomb threat and like all kinds of things. Like I was just like the one that finally like was like, all right, this guy's not messing around. Like, right. So apparently like right before like the money exchange or whatever was when 9/11 hit. And so like all the federal agents basically apparently got pulled off the case, or that case got like backburnered or something. That's the way the story got told to me. I don't know all the details for real, but
I was gonna say, because if you had the police involved, I'd figure like, well, I mean, it is it is TV, so you never know how accurate TV is. But I know whenever you see it on TV, like they're like, okay, tell him you'll be there, you'll meet him, you'll drop the bag, and then they have like cops waiting around it so that like he can't get away.
right. I'm a huge Hawaii 5-0 fan. That's how they do it. Yeah. So yeah, I guess, I don't know if it was 9/11 or like what it was. I know that they couldn't arrest him for even being at my school, apparently, because the stalking laws were different back then. So because he never physically touched me, they had no grounds to arrest him.
Oh, Jesus, that's crazy. So
Crazy.
now you were super young, but is there any like signs or things that you can tell people to watch out for? I mean, especially since you were a sponge, here's your time to de-sponge.
I'm de-sponging. Yeah. So again, like the 3-year-old one, I don't remember anything. So that
Yeah,
one,
nothing there.
I can't speak a whole lot to that one. But with the ice cream man, always be vigilant. Parents, trust your kids, because even though they're kids, sometimes what they have to say is valid. And trust your gut. Like if your gut's telling you something's not right, like it actually might not be right. And again, like I have more stories. Like those weren't the only 2 attempts. I'll tell this one quick. When I was in middle school, my brother and I were riding the bus home. He's 4 years younger than me. And I told you, because he had his autoimmune disease. So like I was always kind of looking out for him because he had a rough go of it growing up. So we rode the bus home. My parents were working a lot, and I had a cell phone at the time. We got let off the bus, and there was this SUV that started like following us home. We were like, I noticed it because again, like a sponge, be a sponge. That's my best advice. Be a sponge.
I love it.
Be aware of your surroundings. Like teach your kids to like be aware of their surroundings. You don't want your kid to be afraid of the world, obviously, but there's also like a fine line of like being vigilant and like knowing what's going on around you, because like that could save your life, that could save your friend's life, like that could save your child's life. Just like being aware. So like I had noticed this SUV that was following us, and then like speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, like super tinted windows, pulled past us, went into a driveway, flipped around, came back. And I was like, okay, this is weird. So I had already told my brother, I was like, hey, like if I tell you to run, I need you to run, and like don't turn around, like just keep running. So I told my brother, I was like, run, like don't turn around, like don't look back, just run if I tell you to run. This SUV ended up coming back, door opened, guy hopped out, and I was like, run. Like what's that, like the song that they play on like reels? Run.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. Like I was in like a skirt, because again, like the school I went to required a uniform, and I had these like little ballet shoes. I started wearing tennis shoes to school after that, because like they were like slipping off my feet, making it so much harder to like run. But we ended up like hopping fences. We were like banging on like all of the neighbors' doors, but like nobody was home. This dude was literally chasing us. Okay. We ended up finally like hopping the last fence, like running across the street, getting into our house. And like I told my brother to go hide under his bed, and like I went and grabbed like the biggest butcher knife that I could find, and I just like sat on the ground right behind like the door just in case, like terrified. And I had tried to call my mom on my cell phone, but like for whatever reason, like my phone just like stopped working. I don't know why. Still to this day, very inexplicable. There's the word.
The guy in the van jammed it.
They've got one of those like Call of Duty things, the EMF device that like blocked your cell phone.
I always think that when I watch like all my like cop shows now, right? I'm like, oh, like I wonder if that's like legit. Like, do like normal kidnappers have those things? Because like my phone didn't work, but like my mom, she said like her like mom instinct was going off. Her and my dad were driving back from a meeting, and she's like, something's not right. She like tried to call my phone. I didn't answer, which like, okay, like not that big of a deal, but she was like, I know something's not right in my gut. And she's like, speed, like get home now. And so they were like apparently doing like 100 on like the regular road that's like 45 trying to get home like to us in time. And she ended up like, my parents walked in the house and I was literally sitting there with my butcher knife ready to stab my parents because I didn't know. I was so terrified, right? And they were like, what is going on? And like I just like fell out, like I dropped the knife and started crying. And I was like, and I told them the whole story. And then it ended up being that like the same vehicle was spotted like several different areas in that neighborhood doing like the same thing, chasing other kids.
That's
So,
terrifying.
Kidnap 'em.
right? So yes, be vigilant, be a sponge, like teach your kids like not to be afraid, but like to always be aware of their surroundings. Like even as an adult, like I think about that. Like you hear crazy stories and like, you know, like sex trafficking is real. Like even when I go at it, like when I walk out of Target, like my mom always told me to like walk like you have a purpose. She's like, you never want someone to know you're lost. She's like, so you walk like you have a purpose. Because like if you're looking down at your phone, if you're like whatever, not paying attention, like that's like when you're, you know, likely to be the victim of a terrible crime. If that's gonna happen, like those are the people that they target, you know?
It's really funny that you mentioned a Target because my soon-to-be sister-in-law was almost snatched at a Target like literally a month ago.
Oh my gosh, it's so scary.
What she told me, she's like, yeah, this girl came up to her like, oh yeah, we have a promotion going on. Did the guy at the front didn't tell you about it? And tried grabbing her and pulling her to the back, and she yanked her arm free and then said, absolutely not. She said, do not grab me. And then went to talk to the store manager because first of all, if it was an actual employee, no.
Right.
And so she talked to them and they're like, what are you talking about? There is no special event.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. That makes another good point though. You asked like things like, you know, be aware of. It's like, yeah, all those things I mentioned, but like also like I've heard it 1,000 times, like fight, like don't go easily, like you fight because if you put up enough of a fight, like apparently that increases your chances. Like they want somebody who's going to be easy to grab and like get away with. Like, if you scream, if you fight, if you run, like if you try to make it difficult, like your chances of being okay like significantly increase.
Yeah, that's actually I've had that conversation with my son several times. I'm like, I don't want you to be scared, but if anybody ever tries to grab you or take you or putting you in a van, like you scream as loud as you can.
Mm-hmm. And don't take candy from a stranger. It's just the one that I always remember growing up.
Yeah. It's funny though that you talked about gym shoes because that's how I got into martial arts. My mom put me in self-defense because she was worried I would be kidnapped because I was like 100 pounds, maybe soaking wet, little tiny thing. Like she was afraid I would get kidnapped. So her and I took self-defense together, but she would take it in her boots, in her heels, because her theory was like, if that's what she's going to be wearing on a regular basis, then she should know how to do what she needs to do in her boots. And when she said that to the self-defense teacher, he was like, that's genius.
It really is. I never would have even thought of that. That's so true.
So either wear gym shoes or learn self-defense in high heels. Those are your two options.
And just to clarify, she wasn't wearing like high heels like you would wear to a wedding. They were like boots, like closed-toed boots with like a little bit of a heel. But he was still like, you know, he was still asking her about it because he was worried, you know, like, I don't want you to fall and twist your ankle. And she's like, no, I need to know how to do this in the shoes that I wear on a regular basis.
Yeah. Plus those things could be a weapon.
Also that. Yeah, one of the things that he taught us that was like one of the simpler things is when you're walking out to your car, you put your keys in between your fingers. So if you have to punch anybody, they're going to get a bunch of keys right through the face.
My mom taught me that one too. My mom was raised in the inner city. She's had her fair share of fights. She's way tougher than me. I mean, obviously, you heard from chasing down an ice cream truck and ripping the man out.
Got me up.
Yeah. My mom is a scary lady. You don't mess with her.
It's that Italian, man.
It's honestly, I think it just runs in the blood.
So between all of these like kidnapping attempts and your liver issues, which we'll get to later, but like how did you handle with like the trauma of everything or even just like stress in general?
So the liver issue, again, we'll get to that later, like you said, but yeah, so that one was like a little bit of a different coping mechanism, I guess you would say, but with like the trauma and the stress, to me, my faith is everything. God carries me through the darkest, toughest times in my life when I let him, and he cheers me on in like the best, most amazing times in my life when I let him too. So for me, it was like 100% my faith, because like I've been through like a lot of sketchy stuff in my life. Like, yeah, the kidnapping stories are funny, but like, yeah, they're scary. And like, I've also had like other like pretty, I guess you'd call them traumatic things that I've gone through, like getting older as well. And for me, like when you try to go through it alone, when you try to like tough it out on your own, it's just going to break you. It's just going to keep like getting, you know, I'm kind of the person that doesn't like to talk about my feelings. So I know that might be surprising because like I just like to talk, but like if you actually try to get me to talk about like how it makes me feel like deep down, like that's like a no-go zone for me. I'm like, nope, like I'll tell you the story, I'll make you laugh, like all that fun stuff. But like if you want me to actually like get real with you, like that's not an easy thing for me. That's like one thing that like my husband has honestly really helped me with, is because again, like everyone goes through terrible things in their life, like no matter like what it is. And like it might seem like one person's is worse than the other, but like in reality, like everyone's trauma, everyone's hard times, that's like according to your own life, right? Me just being able to like always have my faith lean on has been like my saving grace in so many different ways. And
were you ever scared to walk home from school after that?
more aware, I guess. Yeah, if I had to like think back now, like yeah, I guess the emotion would have been more like fear, but I just kind of, I always had that like protector mentality. So if I was with my brother, I wasn't going to be afraid. I had the
You're being fierce like your mom.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to be fierce like my mom. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you weren't going to let anybody touch your little brother.
Exactly. Like I'm
your brother almost like gave you power.
He did. Yeah. And like now it's funny because he's so much bigger than me and he picked him up. But at the time, like he was like this little kid, and like, you know, I told you he had the health problem, so he was like even a lot smaller than some of the other kids at the time too. And so like I felt that like need to be his protector. Like I felt that need to be like that strong person that like if you're gonna get to him, you're gonna go through me first. I got in fights plenty of times over that, like people picking on my brother. I'm like, nope, you think you're going to pick on him? You're going to go through me first. And you know what? I might not be that big either, but I pack a punch. So, but yeah, I'm definitely more likely to like be afraid like when I'm on my own. But like if I'm with somebody else, nah. It's like that whole like protector thing like kicks in, and I'm like, nope, I'm not afraid of anything. Like I'll take somebody on just to like put myself in between like you and danger.
See, you are a badass. Christina always is like, no, you're the badass. And I'm like, you underestimate yourself. You were almost kidnapped. How many times? You went through all this stuff. You protected your brother. Like, you're a bigger badass than you give yourself credit for.
Oh, thanks, girl. Appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to talk maybe just generally about, I don't know how in depth you want to get about your liver issue, but like what was going on with that, how it affected like your early days in college? Because if I remember right, that's kind of when it started. And of course, you know, you go to college, alcohol is prevalent. You feel like you got to fit in.
Still prevalent.
Right? I went to a little bit of a party school. Go green, go white, Michigan State.
Oh, my brother went to Michigan State.
Yeah. It's a fun school. Yeah, so my liver issue. So I'm not a doctor, and I've had my fair share of medical things, so I'm not going to try to use all the right terms, but I'll do my best to explain this. So if there is somebody in the medical profession listening, you would probably know a lot more about it than I even do. But yeah, so I was a good kid growing up, right? My brother went through a lot. I've mentioned that a few times. So like I never felt like I wanted to give my parents any more of a hard time than they had. So like I never drank, like I wasn't a partier, like I had my little charity that I ran, and like that was my thing. I liked staying in with my parents and watching movies on Friday night instead of going out and raging with all like my other friends in high school. So I was kind of a nerd, but it's fine. So
Aim.
Right? Nerds grow up to be the fun people. Come on, let's be real. But yeah, so I was 18, graduating from high school, And my parents let me decide if I wanted a party or if I wanted to do a trip. I chose a trip. So
Smart move.
Right?
Hmm.
Always choose the trip. Those memories last forever.
Hell
You
yeah.
can party with friends any other time you want. But yeah, so we went to the Cayman Islands. Drinking age 18, so I could drink. So my mom, again, the Italian. So my husband calls me a spicy Italian, but if we're being real, the OG spicy Italian is my mama. So she's like, you know, Italians, they can put back some vino. Like my mom's a Cosmo lady. She loves her Cosmos and she likes some light pink.
That's how
Very
they're
light,
supposed to be. That's how
right?
they're supposed to
Put too
be.
much cranberry in that ish. She's
Yuck.
sending it back and she's going to tell you that you don't know how to do your job. But yeah, so we went to the Cayman Islands. My mom's like, I'm going to buy you your first drink. Woohoo. And so she bought me a mudslide. And obviously, those usually don't have a very high alcohol content. But I got like completely trashed on this mudslide. Like 3 shades to the wind. Like I couldn't walk straight. Couldn't talk. Like I was donezo. And so my mom was humiliated. She's like, oh my gosh. So I didn't mention there was this guy that I liked at the time. And he was also like a family friend. So he got to come with us on the trip because I was a very good salesperson. So
I feel that. Yeah, I understand all of that.
right? So we went on this trip and this guy is there and I'm just like falling all over him. And my parents are like, dear Lord, like what in the world?
Who have we created?
Right? I know. You know, Mediterranean blood, man. So my mom takes me over to the bathroom and she's like, you need to pull yourself together. She goes, you're either pretending right now or you're a lightweight and I don't know what is worse. And so I was like, I'm not pretending. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, yeah, super, super drunk. So it took me like, I don't know, several hours. Like I went back, like tried to like nap it off, like woke up, was still like not doing good. And my mom's like, this is impossible. Like, you can't be drunk still. And I was like, I don't feel good. Like blah, blah, blah. She's like, we're going parasailing. You gonna play, you gonna pay. She's like, that's a lesson you need to learn before college. I was like, okay. So we go parasailing. I was like literally miserable. Like I wanted to die. I was in between my brother and this guy that I liked. And I was like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like everything's spinning. It was the worst experience of my life. So I get down and like still feeling miserable. This feeling continues, right? And like, yeah, I had like part of a shot of limoncello like 2 nights later at dinner and like mimosa or something. So I had a couple more drinks in between, but like I just never fully felt recovered. And I just felt like it kept getting just like so much worse. And I wasn't drinking that much. So we go back to Michigan, right? And we have a family friend who's an ER doctor. My parents were telling the story and like my mom was like kind of like teasing me, like making fun of me. And she's like, you get this? Like she thinks she's still drunk. And so everyone's laughing, like obviously, and like I'm like, but I don't like I still feel funny. And so this ER doctor's like, you know what? Wait a minute. He's like, I'm gonna get my bag. He had his little doctor bag, I guess, in the car. I don't know if this man makes house calls or what his deal is, why he's carrying around his doctor bag, but I don't know. He was. So he like pulls out his like, blood pressure cuff and all that. And he's like having me do all these weird things. And he's like, I'm gonna write you a script for like a very specific like blood test or whatever in the morning. Cause you may actually not be lying. And my parents were like, what? So then they felt terrible, right? So I get this blood test and it comes back that like I don't have all the enzymes that you need to like break down alcohol correctly. So I'm not a medical person. I've been told what the enzymes are. I can never remember. I think that there's like 2, could be wrong. Maybe there's more. Maybe
It's
there's
all
less.
right. We like to keep it simple. It makes it easier for other people to understand anyway. So
Perfect. Because yeah, I couldn't tell you. But basically those enzymes, they're not working in my body. So I shouldn't be drinking because I can't process alcohol. Go to college, whatever, freshman year, like I'm like, yep, nope, like I'm not gonna drink, like I'm over it. Even sophomore year, I didn't drink. Like my family's Italian, so like other than like going home and like having little sips of wine at home, like it was good. But then my junior year, I decided I was going through a little bit of a rough patch. I went through a really bad breakup, and
With the boy from the trip, right?
actually it was with my husband. So
Oh, snap.
right? So at the boy from the trip, that thing ended up going south my freshman year of college. And then I met my husband, like literally, it was 2 days after that. And yeah, that's a whole nother story.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so we like met, we dated, we ended up breaking up the day after my 21st birthday, actually, like over matters of faith. We just like weren't on the same page. And I ended up, much longer story, but like people were telling me some things and eventually I let it get to me and I ended up just like taking like a downward spiral and I was just like hurting and like whatever, and I was like, you know what, no one's gonna tell me what to do, like I'm gonna drink. And so I just started drinking, kind of drinking the pain away. Don't do that. I like was seeing doctors, they were like, you need to stop, like you're killing yourself, like you don't, like please, like don't do this. And I was like, nope, no one's gonna tell me what to do, I'm 21. And so I just kept doing that. And I, you know, I ended up making plenty of decisions regarding like alcohol and stuff, and like that led to other poor decisions, right, as it sometimes tends to do. I like messed up my body, and like I messed up like my mind and everything too, just like based on like other poor decisions that I was making. So finally I hit my like all stop because my body was like sending off all these like false signals because like I was doing so much damage internally, and like my platelets were like dangerously low, or like they thought I might have leukemia and like all these things, right? Like they were like, we like need to do more tests, like you need like I don't know the words, but like bone marrow something or other, blah blah blah. So they're like, but like you should stop drinking because like maybe, just maybe, none of this stuff is actually what's happening. Like maybe you just like your body is freaking out because like you know you shouldn't be drinking. And so finally that was like the, I guess like the kick in the butt that I needed, sort of, to like cut back my drinking. I didn't like totally stop. And again, at no point during this was I drinking like an insane amount compared to like your average college kid. I was drinking like a, I don't know, like a vodka cranberry on a Saturday night at the bar, and then taking like a couple sips of like my best friends. But like that was it. And I was just like completely trashed. And then like during the week, I would have like a half a glass of my wine like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You know what I mean? So like it wasn't like I was getting trashed. Like it wasn't like I was being like a normal college kid and like really partying it up. It's just that, like my body literally couldn't handle that.
Well, you were getting trashed according to your body standards.
Exactly. According to my
You know what? You're just a cheap date. Like, that sounds great.
Man, that's what I was telling people. I probably shouldn't have been saying that, but I was like, yeah, I was like, you know, it's fine. I was like, I'm just a cheap date. It's fine.
At least you weren't like blowing a lot of money in the process too. You know, you weren't like
Right.
going through hundreds of dollars at least.
Exactly. I'm like, I still hold on to that. I was like, I don't drink anymore. That makes me even cheaper date. I'll have a water. That's my selling point to my husband. I'm like, you know, that man likes to keep his wallet in his back pocket. I'm like, yeah, I'm the girl for you. Just kidding. I make up for it in all the other areas.
I feel that.
But yeah, so I ended up like finally coming like full circle, like cutting back on my drinking just because like I was like, okay, like maybe I don't actually want to die. Ended up like getting back together with my husband. And he was like, honestly, he was the one who was like, look, I know this needs to be like your decision. He's like, but like as somebody that loves you, like I'm asking you to like please just like think about this. He's like, because like I love you so much. And he goes, and you know how painful it is to like watch someone you love like hurt themselves repeatedly. He's like,
Yeah.
He's like, is it worth it? He's like, how much do you really love drinking? He's like, compared to like you could have a full life with so many things, like you know that like you're killing yourself slowly. And so like it kind of like made me like sit back, like check myself. And like I said earlier, I kind of touched on like faith is huge, right? That was like why we broke up. That's how I've gotten through like all the dark times in my life. And he just like really challenged me. He's like, you know what, like I feel like you need to, like we weren't even totally back together at this point because like we went, again, that's a very long story, but like the gist of it was like we broke up over faith. We got back together because like he found he found his faith and he like developed a personal relationship with Jesus. And then he came back, flipped it on me, who was not in a good place, and was like, I think you need to find yourself and figure out who you are in Christ rather than, you know, just trying to like have fun and be like everyone else. And like, that was like the thing that no one would tell me, but I needed to hear. And it like sent me on this journey where I was living in Texas, and like I was just doing like a lot of like searching, and like I was like, why am I doing this, you know? Like, what am I actually gaining from this? Like, what do I think that like I'm going to be missing out on so much more that like I don't know, it was this like, I told you I don't like to get deep in my feelings, but like it kind of like forced me to do that and like dig super deep and like ask myself like, why are you being this way, and like deal with like the demons that I had inside that like I was hiding from even myself. And like once I was able to like identify like what they were, then I was able to like, again, my faith, like bring it back to Jesus, like lay it before him, be like, look, I can't handle this on my own. Like, I need your help. And he brought people in my life and who like changed my life. And part of being like a military spouse, right? Like that was never a life that I imagined for myself, to be honest with you, but it was the life that I needed to be the person that I am today. And, you know, you like, I think there's a song, it's like, you make your plans and God laughs. Well, I had made my plans, God laughed because he was like, nah, I got a better life for you. And that was like all part of that journey. And so I ended up making the decision that I was like, you know what, like I'm going to cut out drinking completely. I didn't totally have to. So I was told that like, yeah, like if you want to have a drink like every once in a while, like you can. But for me personally, I was like, it's not worth it. Like I like who I am without it. I like that I can have fun without it. Like it's great because my husband always has a DD. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I'm a healthier person without it because it was knocking down my immune system. So like I found whenever I was drinking, like I was more susceptible to like catching the common cold or the flu or like whatever it was. I was sick all the time. And since like I stopped drinking completely, like I really don't get sick very often, knock on wood, because I don't want to, you know, but yeah, like my immune system, like my just like overall like well-being, like I'm happier, like I'm able to focus more on like other things and like redirect that energy. But yeah, so I don't drink. That's always like, it always throws people for a loop. I like don't mind being around people that drink. It makes me feel weird if you are someone that drinks and then you try not to drink just because I don't drink. I'm like, no, because that makes me feel like I'm
weird. Yeah,
exactly.
it's weird.
You're like, I'm like, it doesn't bother me. So like, don't let it bother you. Like, if you want to have a beer, if you want to have 10 beers, I don't care. Like, I'm like, you do that. Like, I'm gonna sit here with my LaCroix and we're gonna still have ourselves a good time. And I will mentally get on your level the more you get a LaCroix. But yeah, like I'll still like, my friends always talk about it. Like we would go to the bar, like my senior year, I didn't drink, right, of college at all. And so yeah, so we would go to the bar, like I would drive us all there. So we saved so much money on Ubers. And then we'd get in there, like everyone else would be drinking and like everyone had like pre-gamed, right? And I was like, you guys like just don't worry about me. I'm like, you get on your level and like I'll meet you there. And so like I would be in the bar like dancing like crazy, like whatever, like everyone's like, oh my gosh, that girl, like do you see her, like she must be hammered. And then like I'd pull my keys out of my purse at the end of the night. I'm like, okay guys, let's go home. Like, and I was totally good, right? And all my friends used to just like laugh about it. They're like, this is like so funny, like this like absolutely ridiculous. But it just like came from, again, like realizing that like, hey, like I know who I am without it. Like I found that, again, for me, a lot of like how much I was drinking was rooted in like I was trying to mask pain. And like I never asked myself that. Like I didn't think of that when I was doing it. Like I was just drinking. I was just having a good time. It's college. Like let's do this.
Yeah.
But, like
yeah.
when I started like going deep and like digging like inside, like I quickly realized like, hey, like you're not doing this even for the right reasons. Like you're not doing this entirely because you just like the taste of a mojito, which I do. But it's great drink. But yeah, so it made it a lot easier for me to just like kind of like quit cold turkey from like that aspect. And yeah, it's just not the right thing for me, but I don't mind when everyone else does it. My husband loves a Guinness, and that's great.
And thank God for mocktails, because you can.
Exactly. That was like our wedding. We had like a whole bar, right? So we had, signature drinks. So my husband had his signature drink, right? And then I had my signature mocktail. It was great.
Oh. Hey, at least the mocktail the kids could enjoy.
Exactly. Yeah, I was like, come on. And like we invited a lot of kids to our like weddings. I'm a big kid if you haven't figured that out yet. But
we have.
Yeah. I'm like, then everyone gets to enjoy. Everyone gets to participate. It's the best way to do it.
Your mom also seems like a great time. I was like, this is great. When you were talking about when you guys went on vacation, I was like, I love her. I love her mom already.
Yes. If you want to have a good time, you want to go with my mom. She's always been that way. My friends have always loved her more than me. And, I've just accepted it. It's fine.
So if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh.
I know. It's my one fun one. I throw it in there on occasion.
I like it. I've always wrestled with this one because I think being invisible would be super cool, but flying is also really cool.
I can't see you being invisible. You talk too much.
I see that too. So I'm definitely going to have to go with flying. I feel like who wouldn't want to fly? Like that's freedom. That's like the feeling of freedom. Like flying.
You could go anywhere.
Yeah. I'm like, plus think about the price of plane tickets. You know how much money I would save? Sheesh.
So much.
Especially being here on a rock where we're stranded and you could just fly whenever you wanted. Heck yeah.
Exactly.
What is one final thing you want to like leave our listeners with your whole journey with your liver and your kidnapping and being a military wife? Just whatever you want to leave our listeners with.
All right. If I had to leave you guys with one thing, I'd say everything's about your perspective in life.
Ooh, I like
at
that.
it, right? If you choose to look at a situation like, oh, this is crappy and like it's just like an awful like stage in my life, like then it's gonna be that way. But like if you choose to see like the good and the beauty and like that goes for like people, places, like everything, like your perspective is everything. Like if you have a positive outlook on it, you're gonna find something to love in that season, no matter how bad it is.
Aw,
I love it.
This is how to deal when shit gets real. Come and find us on all the social medias. Remember to rate and review us, and new episodes every Friday. We got more content coming at you.